So you got to have a good business plan. There are, and the financials are usually the most important part of the business plan and the hardest for people to put together. So here's my advice on that. You gotta gather a lot of information. So you got to get 3 types of information. One, what is it going to cost you to start it up? And you got to go out and price stuff and figure out what are we talking about. So equipment, real estate, upfit, what is it going to cost to upfit? I mean, to the point of calling plumbers, having them come out and seeing what they're going to charge you to do the work, because you don't want to be surprised by any of that stuff. So you make a big list of everything you need to start the business. The second type of information is pricing. You want to know what you're going to charge for your product, or at least have some kind of an idea. And pricing is really tricky for a lot of businesses because you're in between 2 barriers. You got to be kind of around what competitors are doing, and you got to be, low enough that customers will find it valuable. So you're kind of walking this line. So pricing can be tricky, and then you got to know what are your cost of goods sold. That doesn't it doesn't really apply to services, but if you're selling an object, what do you have in that? And what are your costs? Are there any way to get the cost down in that? You could do a little bit there. So that's the second type of cost. What does it cost you to provide the product or service, and what are you going to charge the customer for it? And then the third is overhead, that we always hear about overhead. So you want to know, what are you going to pay for things that aren't going to change with the amount that you sell? Rent, phone, payroll, what do you have to pay your employees? Those kinds of expenses, you want to be able to estimate those. So once you have those, you can put them together and work on projections. Then you start, and if you're a startup, it is guessing. How many can you sell? How many can you sell in the first month? And then what happens in the second month? And then can you get a little more? And you can do things like, it's a guess, but you want it to be as good of a guess as you can do. So what you want to do is look at the industry and say, well, what is everybody else doing? How much are they growing every year? Or are sales up or down? Or how's profitability? So we can help you do that. We can pull the industry information. The bank's going to do that when you go for financing anyway, so it's better that we do it first and be able to make sure that your projections are in the ballpark that you want it to be in. So I guess that's my advice, and you got to have those 3 sets of information to be able to do good projections.